Good evening, dear viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe TV. First, our major stories. Kidnappings on the rise in Mayemen village, Kupe Maniguba division, southwest region of Cameroon. Residents of the area say since the start of the Anglophone crisis, villagers have been restless. Many decry the fact that they have to pay millions of francs CFA for the release of family members kidnapped by unknown men. And over in the far north region, land dispute between two ethnic groups, that is, Bogo and Pete in the Jamare division, turns violent. Despite efforts made by the senior divisional officer for the Jamare to calm both parties, the two villages are yet to come to terms. Tonight, we'll give you details on why this piece of land has become a bone of contention between villages. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. news. I am Immaculate Fogwe. We'll begin straight away with the Anglophone crisis, as Mayemen village has been described as the most insecure village in Kupe Maniguba division of the southwest region. The information was made public by the senior divisional officer, Akama Williams, during a meeting that was geared at selecting the new traditional ruler of that village. Smajikan Gabriel reports.
Even though business activities in Mayemen seems to have taken off again after several threats from suspected separatist fighters which made business slow, Mayemen in Guti subdivision of Kupe Maniguba division has recorded the highest number of kidnappings in the division since the start of the crisis.
The number of kidnappings carried out in Mayemen is alarming. It's alarming because no other village has reached this high number of kidnappings, and that's why we are calling on them to sit up.
The senior administrative officer made the declaration as he visited Mayemen to put to rest the ongoing tussle on the position of the third-class chief in Mayemen.
Almost produced a chief, but for the fact that most of those candidates were not present and their documents were not present. If their documents were present, we would have proceeded with the choice of the chief. The kingmakers would have given us a chief.
In the course of the gathering, an elite of Mayemen suggested that all bush houses should be destroyed. For him, the bush houses accommodate the bad seeds in the society.
At night, when you come here, you need to be able to pass around this place. People are camped in the forest like this and come out back in the night. It becomes so chaotic. These bush houses that people are built in the bushes harbor a lot of criminals. If you can investigate thoroughly to do some of these bush houses and they are burnt down, it's going to reduce those kind of people staying back in the forest.
Before leaving Mayemen, the senior divisional officer of Kupe Maniguba division left a message to the people.
They have been selling land. We are calling on them to cultivate this land instead of selling to I don't know to whom. So we are begging, we are pleading that the Mayemen community should take their destiny in their hands.
The senior divisional officer of Kupe Maniguba division has promised to return to Mayemen in the days ahead to find a solution to the absence of a chief in Mayemen. But a temporary committee has been put in place to manage the village for the time being.
And still on insecurity, tension between the Pete and Bogo ethnic groups, that is in the far north region, takes another twist. The two ethnic groups are fighting over a piece of land which serves as a boundary to their villages. The senior divisional officer for Jamare division, Jacques-Marc Ekwambaga, once again has cautioned the population to stop fighting. Ese Luciliengu has the details.
For over 7 years, the natives of Pete and Bogo in the Jamare division of the far north region have been at a loggerheads over a disputed piece of land.
Je crois que chaque chef traditionnel connaît sa limite.
I think all the traditional rulers know their limits. We are all Muslims. I want the traditional rulers to be truthful by showing their limits. I have about 300 meters square of land here, but others go against their limits.
Et devant le préfet, moi j'ai plus de 300 quarts ici, et c'est les autres qui viennent travailler dans le caral.
The said land, which serves as a boundary, is at the origin of the tension existing between the two ethnic groups.
La surface interdite, avec toute sincérité.
In a bid to calm down the angry population, the senior divisional officer of Jamare, Jean-Marc Ekwambaga, issued an order prohibiting both villages from cultivating on the disputed piece of land.
Quand il y a des problèmes quelque part, pour préserver la paix, personne ne vient plus travailler en attendant qu'on trouve une solution définitive.
But the natives of Pete and Bogo did not respect the decision as they went ahead cultivating on the piece of land. Once more, the senior divisional officer cautioned the people to stop fighting but live in peace.
Je ne veux pas venir ramasser les corps ici, qu'il y a déjà la guerre entre les gens de Fadare et ceux de Morgoy. C'est pour ça que je dis n'allez plus là-bas.
He equally asked the administrative authorities to reunite the Lamido of Pete and that of Bogo, the mayors of the two towns, so as to put an end to the dispute.
And on to something else, human rights defenders in Cameroon maintain that violation of human rights is on the rise, contrary to a government report presented to the United Nations organization. According to them, government's report on the situation is said to be far from the reality on the ground. Babla Jonathan talked to a seasoned lawyer and human rights defender, Barrister Liscom, and now compiled this report for us.
One country, one situation, two contradictory reports, two faces of Cameroon's human rights situation. While government, through the Ministry of External Relations, presents a situation of respect of human rights to the United Nations, the civil society qualifies that as another usual lie of the authorities.
Nous avons avalé tellement de mensonges.
15 organizations of human rights defenders paint a bleak picture of the country's human rights situation, highlighting gross violations and abuse across the national territory.
The situation is very bad. You are killing everywhere. You have arrests everywhere. Arrest of politicians, arrest of human rights defenders, arrest of journalists, sometimes killing of all these people.
The board chairperson of the Network of Human Rights Defenders in Central Africa, Barrister Alice Com, points to the responsibility of the head of state. She underscores the fact that President Biya is constitutionally empowered to stop human rights violations and put an end to enabling factors like the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, and goes further to say the head of state is not doing that.
Order given to the military by the head of state, who is the head of forces, security forces, to go and fight with guns his own fellow citizens. So he must be the one who can stop it.
Though she regrets President Biya is far advanced in age and his health seems to be failing him, Barrister Alice Com has urged him to perform his constitutional duties and save the country from an impending doom.
And now we talk something else. A gang of 8 specialized in armed robbery activities right here in the city of Douala has fallen into the dragnet of security officials. Among the 8 are 2 accused of perpetrating a spectacular robbery attack on October 17th that led to the theft of over 4 million francs CFA. Femi Armstrong Sanda has the details.
On a Reconstitution Act scene, the 2 were presented as members of a gang that robbed a mobile money shop on October the 17th, 2023 in the city of Douala, making away with the sum of 4,800,000 francs CFA.
Investigations coordinated by the Littoral Regional Delegate for National Security led to the arrest of the 3 members of this organized crime group in possession of 2 automatic pistols, a toy in the shape of an automatic pistol, daggers and machetes.
Beside the 2, several other young persons accused of robbery activities in some neighborhoods like Bonaberi, Makepe, Daido, Cité de la Paix and Terga were presented to the public after being arrested by the Douala 8th Public Security Unit.
4 of the later individuals were members of the same criminal group as the former, and they admitted to several robberies of stores, bakeries and associations in Makepe, Bonaberi, Daido, Cité de la Paix and Terga districts. During one of these assaults at Denyepoto, the female victim died of injuries sustained.
Littoral Regional Judicial Police officials say that the suspect will be presented to the State Council at the military court in Douala. The crackdown on individuals of the underworld falls in line with instructions to guarantee the safety of individuals and goods across Cameroon before, during and after the festive period given to security officials by their hierarchy.
And now we talk politics. Political observers say that the major impact of the adhesion of Frank Biya to the CPDM party will be felt at the level of his movement, that is, the Frankist movement. The reactions follows the acquisition of a CPDM membership card by Frank Biya in France, officially confirming his belonging to the ruling CPDM party. Femi Armstrong Sander reports.
Political observers agree that a lot will change with the official adhesion of Frank Biya to the ruling Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM political party. The major impact, according to Ndioum Emmanuel, will be felt within his movement, the Frankist Citizens Movement for Peace and Unity in Cameroon.
I only pity those gullible people who carry themselves, ran to the movement called the Frankist movement in search of positions. And today, Frank Biya has made it clear. Maybe he has read the signs and the language of Cameroonian to understand that they don't want him.
He sees his joining the CPDM party as unseparated from the upcoming presidential election in Cameroon, sustaining his view with the CPDM government's recent act of authorizing some 40 other political parties in the country.
The CPDM party is legalizing other 40 political parties to further fragilize the already fragilized Njanggi groups that we had in Cameroon called political parties. For 41 years, people have been joining parties, people have been leaving parties. What has creating, joining, leaving various political parties brought to Cameroon as a solution? Let me tell you, one of the highest problems in Cameroon that has put Cameroon stagnating is politics.
In his adhesion speech, Frank Olivier Emmanuel Biya outlined his commitment to supporting his father, President of the Republic of Cameroon and current leader of the CPDM party. He called on CPDM party supporters to rally behind President Paul Biya, affirming that the natural leader of the party remains unchanged according to the statutes of the party. Frank Biya insisted that he will not take an explicit political position, thus respecting a duty of reserve. However, he expressed his willingness to support initiatives and directives that goes in the right direction for the country Cameroon.
And out of our national borders, Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko has returned to prison after weeks of undergoing medical treatment in a hospital during a hunger strike to protest his detention on charges he says are politically motivated. Meanwhile, Malians are celebrating the capture of northern Kidal, one of the strongholds of separatist groups that has long posed a major problem to the ruling junta. Malaglory with our international page.
The capture of Kidal by Mali's army is a significant success for Mali's military leaders who seized power in 2020. Northern Kidal has for a long time been dominated by separatist groups that has long posed a major sovereignty issue for the ruling junta. Violence has escalated in the north of Mali since August, with the military, rebels and jihadists vying for control as the United Nations Stabilization Mission withdraw from the country and evacuate its camps, triggering a race to seize territory. The General State said earlier in a statement on social media that the Malian army forces took up position in the town of Kidal on Tuesday, November 14. Report says the news was welcomed by many in the capital Bamako as dozens gathered at the Independence Square waving Malian flags. And in Senegal, opposition leader Ousmane Sonko transferred to prison after 3 months in hospital. Sonko, who has been hospitalized since August 8th after starting a hunger strike on July 30th, was finally transferred to Camp Manuel prison in central Dakar on Monday night. His lawyers denounced the fact that they were not informed of this decision. The Supreme Court on Friday will decide on whether or not Sonko's removal from the electoral list is legal.
And now to sports. The indomitable Lions have intensified their preparations ahead of the first FIFA World Cup qualifiers match against Mauritius Island on Friday, November 17, 2023. The Lions began training Tuesday in Douala. Smart Gabriel talked to one of the newcomers, Junior Baptiste Chamander, and put together this report. To this report done by Smart Gable, where the indomitable Lions have intensified their preparations ahead of the first FIFA World Cup qualifiers match against Mauritius Island on Friday, November 17, 2023. The Lions began training on Tuesday in Douala. Smart Gable compiled this report.
10 players answered present in the Lions' first training session that took place at the Reunification Stadium in Bepanda, Douala, as they began strategizing ahead of their clash against the Mauritius Island come Friday. With the absence of Vincent Abubakar, Olivier Kemen, and Harold Mukudi, Coach Rigobert Song invited 3 Elite One players. Lionel Ateba of Dynamo of Douala, who has 5 goals in 7 matches of the Elite One League, Eric Musu of Cotonsport of Gadwa, and Frank Atsama of Bambutus of Mbuda. Amongst the 3, Jos Dynamo's Lionel Ateba was present on the pitch, while Frank Atsama of Bambutus FC of Mbuda joined the Lions Den later in the night. The first warm-up session of the Lions, that was closely followed by the fans at the Reunification Stadium, was focused on the relaxation of muscles as the players make use of the ball. Leon Bel, Junior Baptiste Chamade, and Faris Pemi Mugbane were also active in their warm-up session. One of the Greenhorns, Jean-Baptiste Chamade, says it's a blessing for him to be part of the team.
It's a blessing. This is my parents' home country. It's for me to represent my family's country. And I see the love here is unreal. It's so good. So it's a dream come true for me, something I wanted since I was a little kid to play for my country, and I'm happy to be doing it now. I want to represent my country in one of the biggest international tournaments, so my mind is certainly there thinking about it, but I think for now I need to focus on these 2 games and helping the team win.
The Stoke City defender is calling on fans to support them.
Great group of boys, and just excited to keep playing with them, and hopefully I can play with them for a long time. I'm just here to make you fans happy, and we need your full support in these next 2 games and going into the African Cup of Nations.
The Lions will continue to fine-tune strategies to get the FIFA World Cup qualifiers match against Mauritius Island on a good footing.
And that's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight on Talking Point, I'll be receiving Professor Akumbong Mark Anthony, a civil society actor, and we'll be discussing about what's currently happening at the National Assembly. Good evening, Professor. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight. On Thursday, November 9th, a decree from the Speaker of the National Assembly was read on national TV announcing the dismissal and replacement of the Director of Cabinet, Abdurrahim Buka. Few hours later, another communique attributed to the Speaker was released, debunking the former. How should we understand such a controversy of matters concerning an important institution like the National Assembly?
The fact that the National TV House, the CRTV, actually read out that particular communique or arrest coming from the President of the House of Assembly actually means that he is the one who sent that one, implying he dismissed this said individual. And so if few days after another communique is coming, which CRTV did not read, it implies that that was not an authentic communique. And therefore, we should not create a polemic out of it. The one thing I also want to say is this is shameful, considering the fact that it's something that is coming from the National House of Assembly. And you see what the second communique was saying that it's struggling to play a game. And I think that if it is the dismissed chief of cabinet, he should be punished for that. Because that is a crime. Struggling to stage an administrative stand up is a problem. And that is not good coming from the House of Assembly, which is a very important institution in this nation's political and administrative life. So that one is very, very important that we get to discuss on. It's very important.
Professor, on the heels of the controversy, some media sources reported an attempt by the dismissed Director of Cabinet to stage an administrative resistance. How possible is that?
Thank you again, Immaculate. I want to say that nothing in this country, Cameroon, is impossible. The fact that we are here discussing on an issue which is so funny, it implies that Cameroon is not an easy country to live in. Let's look at it. You have been dismissed by the President of the National Assembly, and you are the Chief of Cabinet, whom he appointed because you were not elected. Then, here you come with another communique struggling to play a game to refuse your dismissal. That in itself is funny. But you know what? We are in Cameroon and nothing is impossible. That's staging an administrative stand-up. I don't want to leave because some of them think that this is their personal property. Because some of them think that this thing is maybe not the right way it has been done. Let's even accept it's not the right way it has been done. But as long as it has been read at the level of the national TV station, there is no way you can come back. Except this time around, the President of the National Assembly comes up and gives not a written communique. He himself speaks on TV to denounce what was read. And if that has not been done, and if that has not happened, then that particular communique remains. And as I would say, this Chief of Cabinet needs to be sanctioned for that act. It is not his personal property. It's not his personal business. And so he should accept when decisions have been done against him.
But then, Professor, some Cameroonians attribute the controversy to the vulnerability of the aging House Speaker. How worried should citizens be considering that the President of the Republic are also of the same age range?
Okay. Immaculate Fogwe, thank you again for this question. I want to say that the problem here is neither the age of the individual, but what is actually disturbing about it is the state of the person we are talking about. You see, it is possible you can even be a leader and lead your people and rule over your people even at the age of 90, even at the age of 100. But the question is, how is the state of your mind? Your mental state, your health state matters a lot. And if your health situation is not convincing, I think it is important at times to declare incapacitation in order to give correct leadership to the nation. When we allow aging individuals to lead us, not just aging but ailing individuals to lead, then we have a problem. In a kind of way, we consider there is a vacancy. Why? Because the person in question is not occupying his post. Don't forget, it's not long ago that the president actually signed issued a kind of travel acceptance for him to travel for his health purposes out of the country for a year. And if that happened, it means he's not healthy. So he is supposed to be replaced. But you know, even though I said the age is not the matter, but the state of the individual, as long as a person has gone beyond the age of 70, the person is living on credit. And I think as from that particular moment, it is necessary for such individuals to be catered for. They are supposed to create a condition where they are taken care of. They are supposed to be back home where they are taken care of. Not to be managing a nation. A nation is too big to be managed by such an individual.
The same Abdurrahim Buka has been controversial as justified by video captured of him recently in Tokombere, that is in the Far North region. How will this resistance and controversial position play a role on the living together and social cohesion right here in Cameroon?
Okay, thank you again, Immaculate. I want to be clear. We should not forget that it's the same Abdurrahim, or say chief of the cabinet of the President of the House of National Assembly, whom was caught on video being so tribalistic and controversial with state issues, where he actually said they have been able to seize all positions from Anglophones and particularly from the Northwesterners. And I remember that members of the National Assembly from the Northwest region of Cameroon actually wrote and signed demanding for his dismissal. And so if the dismissal has come, I don't see any reason why he should be resisting. And I don't think he's able to resist. He's not able to resist. These are issues that happen when we do not understand the state of the nation. We are in a situation where, as we are talking right now, there is a crisis that is threatening to divide the country into two, where based on colonial heritage, individuals have risen up and said they were Anglophones and they needed autonomy. And an individual comes up again and says everything that the Anglophones had been taken. So he is indeed, in one way or the other, pushing for further chaos in the country.
Professor Akumbo Makatoni, civil society actor, thank you so much for being part of Talking Point tonight. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on ETV. Have a wonderful evening in the company of more programs on Equinoxe TV.